Hi, welcome everybody. This is Jim Ott with the Marian Homeschool Assistance Program Student Council Mental Health Try to Feel Better podcast. Okay, we still haven't got a title. And today we have a number of Marian Homeschool Assistance Program high school students with us today. We have Kyle and Abbie and Jenna and Gigi and Jake. And we are going to actually do part 2 of something that we had talked about with a couple of these people, but also we have a couple new voices today. And that's the idea of how important it is in our mental health to be connected with groups of people. So here's your brief neurology lesson for today to introduce the concept. Our brains are wired to keep us safe. That's fight or flight. Like, when we're afraid of something or we see something we're not sure of, we have that kind of instant protection reaction that we have. Okay, that makes sense. But the next thing then is to find places where we're safe in terms of our person and our emotions, which means a place of belonging. It's very important to be in environments where we are with other people, where we feel that we belong, because it helps us to feel affirmed in who we are, to develop a stronger sense and confidence in our identity. So belonging is very important. Last time we talked about you can belong by joining activities. You can be a part of a play. You can be a part of a sports team, a choir, a mock trial is an activity that apparently some people do around here. And so there are all kinds of activities you can be engaged in, and that's great. You meet new people, you try new skills. It really helps you to develop some confidence. And then it's also important to have close friends. We need to have places where what's inside of us can come out with a little bit of safety. And really, you only need a few close friends. I mean, you can't really be friends with everybody. And we talked a little bit about having those close, intimate friends. But let's talk a little bit about the reverse of belonging, which has to do with when you get into a group and there's a pressure to conform. And so in every individual, as well as in every group, there's this dance that takes place about belonging. If I want to be a part of this group, well, in order to be a part of this group, I kind of have to be like the group. And all the individuals are determining what the group is. And sometimes, not always, sometimes that can result in being with a group that you want to be a part of. But in order to be a part of the group, you have to either think or do or say or act in ways that might be different in order to conform. In the end, you either become like the group or you decide you're not in the group, or the group decides you're not in it. I mean, you can't really be in a group and not be like the group. So this is true, some people talk about this as peer pressure, for example. And peer pressure is a real thing, but some people think that peer pressure, I'm going to let you guys in a secret, is something teenagers experience. No, this is not true. Peer pressure is something any group of individuals who gather together experience. Adults do this just as much as teenagers, adolescents do. There's no difference. It may be that teenagers, you guys are new to the experience, but the dynamics are the same. And many adults group with people who are like them, and many adults find themselves conforming with groups in ways that they wish they hadn't. Does that make sense? So what I wanted to ask you guys about then for this discussion is, what is that dynamic? Have you experienced it? How have you seen it have a negative effect, either on you or people that you have known? And what do you suggest as ways to address that pressure to conform? So anybody want to lead us off? That's a pretty broad thing, but somebody jump in.
I guess I would just say that there is a line between having a group encourage you to do something a little out of your comfort zone, which I think can be beneficial, and a group forcing you to do something you genuinely just don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And I think one of those is healthy. I think getting out of your comfort zone, having people that are going to push you a little bit, I think that's good. But when people are saying, hey, you're not going to be friends with me if you don't do this with me, or, well, I just really want you, and like, if they're guilting you into it, I think that's very unhealthy. But if they're encouraging you to do something that you're maybe semi uncomfortable with, but like, hey, I think this would be beneficial, I think that is a good thing. And I know that I have friends that are like, why don't you want to do it? And sometimes it's like, I'm an introvert, I just want to stay home. Like, I don't want to do this because I just want to stay home. And so but I think there is like benefits to going out and doing something. I think we kind of talked about on the last episode, like Kyle was saying with boredom, like there can be a bad thing with just being alone with your thoughts. So I think just like getting out of your comfort zone is good, and having people that will push you to do things you're not super comfortable with is good. But if they're forcing you to do something that is not good, that is not good.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you mentioned like being forced by like a group. Yeah, that can also bring in kind of the topic of discussion of like subliminal peer pressure, where it's kind of like they're not telling you like flat out like you need to do this, you need to, XYZ. They're not flat out pressuring you into it, but they're all like this or they're all doing this, and you see it and you're kind of like, oh, are they not going to like me if I don't do this? Are they going to think that I'm different from them if I don't do this? It can come from, political beliefs or just standards that they have or what they wear. It can come from anywhere. But I think that, like, getting out of your comfort zone, that is really good in growing your character. But then being peer pressured or feeling like you need to do something, that is, like, it's not character development. It's making your character worse. You're not being your authentic self. You're not doing what you want to do because you want to. You're doing what others are doing because you think they want you to or because they do want you to.
So it's almost like you're pressuring yourself.
Exactly.
Even if no one said anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Me too.
So actually, it's not necessarily that anyone's saying anything, but that's, and I think that's what I'm saying. That pressure to conform makes you feel like you have to, even if no one in the group is actually saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I'm the only non-mocker at this table here. So I'm going to tell a little story. I don't do mock because I have another priority. It's a camp I go to, a political camp in March. It's the same week as state. Otherwise, I would do mock. So I think I know I've experienced a little bit of peer pressure to do mock, and honestly, I would do the camp until I die and not do mock. This is a favorite camp of all time. But I think I've peer pressured myself a little bit into being like, I'm kind of an outsider because I don't do mock. And so I don't know, it's like I peer pressure myself, sort of. It's not like anybody else is pressuring me. It's that I get into my head and I beat myself up about this. So I don't know, that's something to be aware of, because it's not always that everybody else is doing something wrong, and it's not that you're even doing something wrong. You just need to be aware of what you're thinking about.
Yeah, I think something my pastor said a while ago is like ask yourself why like 5 times. And you ask like the big picture of something, like why do I want to do this? Okay, well, because my friends want to do it. Why did they want to do it? Okay, and just kind of like go down till you get to the core of what the real meaning behind why you want to do something is. Mm-hmm. I think that's just really good for like anything, just recognizing the core behind why you want to do something.
So if I were to ask this question, we'll skip all the whys and we'll go right to the core. What are the whys that are at the core that get people into trouble? Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Elaborate, please.
Okay. So if you're honest with yourself about why do I want to be with this group, do these things, go where they're going, do what they're, whatever. And by the way, there are groups within groups too, right? Mm-hmm. So like mock trial is a big organization, but within that there are small groups that are kind of in order to be a part of that small group, there are certain things you have to do.
Clicks,
for example.
Yep.
So if we get down to the core, what are the whys that are at the depths of it that cause us not to get stretched? I think that's really good to be with a group of people that stretch you. Yeah. But what are the whys that get us into trouble when it comes to conforming?
I would say it's because we seek affirmation and acceptance. We want to be liked by everyone. So we seek to gain their approval, whether or not it's by the best means. So we kind of conform to what they're doing because we think if they're doing it, then they'll like us for doing it the same.
No, wow.
Yeah, I have to agree with Abbie on that. Like, you see your friends doing something, most of your friends, and you're like, oh, I want to do that. I like them. They'll like me if I do it. Or you think, oh, if I believe this, or if I do this, or if I wear this, I'm going to come off as more likable. But in the end, like I was saying earlier, like you're denying a part of yourself. You're denying a part of yourself. Like, are you doing it because you like it? Are you doing it because it's something that you actually enjoy doing? Or are you doing it because you think other people will appreciate it?
Yeah, I think kind of just like what Gigi was saying, it's like where are you finding your identity and stuff. Like it's like I think a lot of it is an identity issue, that you're trying to find your identity in mock trial, you're trying to find your identity in your friends, you're trying to find your identity in any sport you're doing.
Right.
And all those things will always fail you. So I think just where is your identity found? I think is a big thing. Why people do things is because they want to be liked. They want to do well in a sport. They want to get good grades.
It's really good. I'm thinking through this in terms of the work that I've done. So for those that are listening that aren't aware of who my voice is or what my voice is, so I was a school psychologist working in schools for a really long time. And there's kind of three themes that I saw with people, and then I'll ask you guys to respond to this. Three themes that get people into pressure, that get people into a situation where they might conform for the wrong reasons. The first one you guys already mentioned. I want them to like me, and I'm willing to compromise in order for them to like me. Makes sense. The second one, to be honest, is I want her to like me. I want him to like me, right? I mean, it's kind of like, you know what? I just want that attention from that one person. They're in that group. I'm willing to go there because of that. And the third one, this is kind of interesting. We haven't really touched on this. It might be a whole nother thing. I want to show that I am not what my parents think I am, that I am my own person. And it makes sense. But do you see those three? Can you think of another category besides those three? Those seem like the big ones to me.
I think the overarching over all of it would be because I want to feel better. Like, you're not okay with what you're seeing. Like, you're not, whether you're accepted or not, you think you're not accepted. Whether the person likes you or not, you think they don't like you. And whether or not you are like your parents or not, you think you're like your parents. So it's like we want to be accepted by ourselves. It's not necessarily other people, it's our opinion of ourselves. And that's based off of what people think of us.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
No, I definitely agree. It comes from something like inside. That sounds weird. But like you're like, I don't know how to say it, like in your mind and from yourself. I don't know. It comes from something deeper than that. Like, you think that all these people don't like you because you're an overthinker. You think that because you just get so in your mind, you just think everybody hates you, and if you don't do this, then they actually will hate you, and all this stuff, when that's really not true. You're just tricking yourself. You're gaslighting yourself into thinking, these things that aren't true.
Oh, that's so good. All right, we just have a couple minutes left. Do you have strategies or ideas, just kind of popcorn style? What are some things that you can do to be aware of this and to keep yourself from getting trapped in it?
Okay, first of all, don't therefore isolate yourself more or see yourself as better or different in a weirder way than other people. Like, as a freshman, I was a absolute hermit. It wasn't that I was weird, it was just that I was awkward around people. And I don't know, that drove me to kind of isolate myself more, and eventually it got unhealthy. So it's something to be aware of, just what you're doing with yourself.
Good.
Yeah, off of that, I would just say, as an introvert and as introverts, I feel like it's easy for us to stay home and just be alone. So I guess I would encourage everyone to just get out of their comfort zone, but also don't, take baby steps. Don't just, jump off the deep end. Don't do anything that you're going to regret later, but also don't not do something that you're going to wish you had done.
Yeah.
And, I feel like it's good to just know your friends and know if they're truly good friends, they're going to encourage you to be a better version of yourself and not a version of themselves.
Yeah.
And so I feel like just knowing the balance and seeing, is this something I really want to do, or is this something they really want me to do?
Yeah. Let's be honest, don't take yourself too seriously all the time either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I mean,
Well, and with what Kyle was saying, when I was a freshman, I was really, really awkward, really introverted. And my mom was like, "You're going to do the play. You're going to." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not a theater kid. I'm not going to go be with all those weird people. I'm not doing it." She made me do the play anyways. I did it, and it was fine. But the more I do, activities like that, I never want to admit this to my mom, but it was really helpful. It was extremely helpful for me to actually learn to grow and to actually, not be a super awkward and antisocial person.
You might not want to have her listen to this. she might pick up on it. Any other last thoughts?
And we should probably, keep God in our relationships.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
That's a really big thing.
Yeah.
Bring him into the relationships and make sure he's a part of it and the center of it. And those relationships will be really healthy and have good longevity.
Super good.
I mean, who cares what other people think of you as long as what God thinks of you is good?
Yeah.
Well, and friendship is fellowship. If you have, friends who are Christians as well, then you're fellowshipping with them all the time, hopefully. I have big, strong friend groups, and we, a topic of discussion is almost always is something religious or, theological.
And that's really healthy to
It is.
bounce those questions off each other. And the relationship should always just glorify God.
I agree.
Wow. You guys, we are kind of over our time limit, and I feel like we've just started something. Like we could go another 20 minutes on this. It would be so good. And so we may do some follow-up stuff on this. One of the things that I came away with is that you are less likely to conform if you are known by somebody close to you, by your relationship with God as you understand God. That the more you are known in that way, the less likely you need to conform in order to be known. And I think that that's a really good lesson to take away from this discussion. Fantastic. Well, this is the Marian Homeschool Assistance Program Student Council Mental Health Podcast. I'm Jim Ott, and we've been talking with some students about conforming to group pressure, and hope this has been useful to you. We invite you to please both listen to this, but also share it with friends that you think might be interested in it, and subscribe on our Spotify channel so that you can be notified every time we get a new one, and share it with others. And we'll see you next time.